What's up guys, it's Punchy, and it's time for this week's giant Deepwoken update. Building on top of the last few weeks, Oath support has been coming back to back, and that's really cool. This week's patch might be more insane than last week's update, where we also got the rework of the entire Silentheart Oath. Instantly after playing with that Oath, I can tell a lot of things have changed, and honestly, I'm a fan. So anyway, if you want, hop in game for yourself to get that full experience from this update. Regardless, I'll try to show you what's up, and let's get right into it. First off, with a huge update to VISIONSHAPER, we're finally here with its rework, and yeah, this wasn't even talked about, so it's kinda on the down low. Let me discuss the previous version of this Oath, and then we'll explain how it's been changed. In the old days, the very dark days of VISIONSHAPER, this thing was universally hated by players and basically the game itself. Due to the fact that you could spawn clones and isolate players with Illusory Realm, it was very frustrating to fight against. The state of this Oath was actually so problematic that it was the only Oath in Deepwoken to have a talent that directly countered it. The talent Disbelief of course exists for multiple reasons like charm, but it did shut down VISIONSHAPER like nothing else in the entire game. Starting off, the OG original VISIONSHAPER talent card gave us a small lore dump about reality manipulation, but most importantly, it granted us a bonus support mantra and 2 combat mantra slots. Anyway, the entire point of VISIONSHAPER's kit was focused on spawning clones, and that was it. The mantra Illusory Servants would summon an NPC controlled clone that constantly pressured your enemy and dealt around 50% or even less of your M1 damage on hit. These clones could also use criticals and were the main focus of VISIONSHAPER. But also, another mantra, Illusory Counter, did the same exact thing but required the user to reflect damage to spawn the clone. You would even automatically spawn a clone when reaching 50% of your HP to slow down your enemy with a talent called Cheap Trick. This talent also had a bonus that was pretty honestly trash, like it is just terrible, but when knocking players, you could vanish from sight for about a second, and yeah, that was it. A majority of this old VISIONSHAPER had to do with spawning clones, and it became so boring because all they would do is throw hands, and that was all. Moving further, VISIONSHAPER also had access to the Illusory Realm mantra. This domain expansion isolated targets, doubled clone damage to around 100% M1 output, and reduced damage coming to the user. So this was pretty out of the ordinary, and it was a great tool to catch runners. And that's all for old VISIONSHAPER. This Oath was very flawed in its design because it incentivized passive gameplay through clones that attacked automatically and weren't even that good. So regardless, the Deepwoken development team clearly felt the same about this, resulting in a new VISIONSHAPER rework, so let's check it out. Starting off with the new talent card, it's changed up quite a bit. The lore about reality shifting still seems to be here, but now we can simply press X to swap place with our illusions, and yes, we're gonna get into this. Also, you should notice your other eye visually lights up with a symbol after completing a mantra or a swap. The first part of this Oath that stayed on the kit but changed entirely is Illusory Servants. Before, spawning a clone would automatically attack and chase down your target, but now this is definitely not the case. With a new distance check to this mantra, Illusory Servants will spawn near the target in a new stationary position. These servants won't track down your enemy like before, but we can switch places with them instantly by pressing X. This new swap mechanic has a pretty small cooldown and will also allow precise teleportation if there's multiple VISIONSHAPER clones out on the field. So if there's only one clone spawned, you don't even need to look at them to TP, and the range is pretty high. But if there's 3 on the field, the maximum clone limit, you might want to look specifically at the target that you do want to switch with. Also being kept in this rework, if you hit clones a specific amount of time, they will vanish. Just to keep it clear, before we get into the techie clone stuff, Illusory Counter also spawns a clone which can be acted upon the same if you do counter some damage. Alright, back to the clone stuff. With a straight up new talent, we have Shaper Mimicry. This talent allows the clones to attack when the user does an M1 or variant of an M1 instead of the automated process like before. So if you want your clones to M1, you also have to M1. With the ability to sync up our attacks and teleport when we want to, what else do the illusory clones do? You should notice that after spawning a clone, there's a small message above their head that's only visible to the user. This message is keeping track of your last used critical attack or mantra before you actually spawned that specific clone. So if you were to use a mantra and then spawn a clone, the mantra that you just used will be loaded into that that clone. Further upon this, multiple clones can be out at the same exact time with different loaded abilities, which we can also use in combat. On top of this, I think it's a good time to mention that Illusory Realm has been replaced entirely by another mantra called Mirror Illusion. If you instead want to make a clone of your target, you can do so with this mantra. So in a small radius, we can hit our enemy with this attack, forcing out a clone of them and storing their last use option instead of ours. This works the same exact way when discussing stored abilities. With another talent, Reality Shift, which is new, we gain a talent tool that uses up these loaded abilities. In combat, we can simply click this tool and the closest clone to the user teleports to that target and does whatever action that they have loaded. It's super possible to stack critical attacks back to back to back, do whatever combo you like while a mantra combos out from your clone, double up on mantras at the same exact time, or close the gap to your enemy by teleporting to your clone that just TP'd. This ability is so simple, it literally just uses the stored attack, but there is so much possibility and creativity that it's just insane. It is worth mentioning that by using M1s or abilities through your clones, that damage will be reduced. And finally, Cheap Trick, the clone that spawns at low HP and the vanishing on knock seems to be unchanged as well, so keep that in mind. And that's about it. Besides all the new changes, it's apparent to me that Vision Shaper is way more technical and advanced than before, providing the user with almost infinite possibilities depending on your build. This is definitely one of those oaths that isn't instantly powerful, but with the right mantra or critical setup, it could be extremely broken. Anyway, comment your thoughts down below and share your opinion about this oath. After this, we finally got some love for another oath, being Starkindred. For some reason, ever since its release, this oath never had any talents. Luckily though, in this update, we got something new with Death from Above. Upon canceling your air dash, you can either reveal your wings or do a dance-like attack whenever you land. Shown in game, this sequence is pretty sweet, letting us do a combo right after, and honestly, it might have a lot of potential and feels really smooth, so check it out. Next up, with some small balancing around other oaths, let's quickly break it down. The newly reworked Silentheart kit around the board got some buffs since all of the options were kinda clunky and hard to use. Every single version of Relentless Hunt, Mayhem, and Rising Star now have lower cooldowns, and they won't have a full cooldown when cancelled. This makes all of the new Silentheart tools way easier to use. Specifically with Heavy Weapon, Mayhem for this weapon type now has Hyper Armor, which is kinda scary if you think about it. Also, with Light Weapon, Relentless Hunt windup has been lowered substantially and its TP has become more accurate. With this option, it should be easier to track down targets from a distance, and that's good. Finally, something of note for Silentheart is the buff coming towards Ankle Cutter. Previously unaffected by flow state, popping this and sliding now gives the move a speed boost, making it come out faster. I don't exactly think that Silentheart players had it so bad before this, but hey, buffs are appreciated. On to Jetstriker with a massive fix coming towards Jet Kick. For a few weeks now, this attack simply phased through targets even at close range, but hopefully it's been fixed as they stated. Besides all of this, we actually have another Deepwoken collab with a band. Earlier back near verse 2, Deepwoken had a collab with Metallica, a rock band that had just dropped an album, and that was kinda funny. This time we have another one with the band Nightwish. I've personally never heard about this band, but we have it in Deepwoken for a bit, so check it out. There's a couple things we could do. Around the map, you should see a few doors which you can enter to go inside the Nightwish Inn. Inside this area, we can listen to the music itself that just dropped and speak to Ferryman for a pretty small quest. Around the map, he will tell us to look for 3 different records at the gateways and return to Ferryman for a reward. After that, you can unlock some very exclusive skins for all the instruments, which are pretty sweet. So this Nightwish event should be around for a little while, so mess around in the base when you can. Moving on from oaths, we have a visual update to the Legion Centurion armor, and as a result, every single Legion NPC in the entire game. Previously, before this update, the Legion Centurion outfit had a green and yellow sort of color scheme, which I guess was too bright in the world of Deepwoken. In this update, this has been updated, making Legion Centurion a gold-brown option instead of that green color. Personally, I definitely prefer this since it matches alongside the Imperial staff. Onto some other updates with team content. There's been changes made to combat tags that are kinda crazy. So, unless you have no holds barred checked a toggleable setting, you no longer combat tag allies if you hit them. This is huge for gang gangs and other cooperative content like dungeons or the depths, so I'm excited to see it used. And finally, that's it. So, as always, make sure to check out that weekly battle royale and win some games with your friends. If you want to see even more exclusive update content just like this, make sure to like and subscribe so we can hit 100k subs. Anyway, thanks again, it's punchin' time.